no, your ass better call somebody.
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park. Fans dripped in jerseys, legacy bold. The Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the amazing Mets pregame show right here on the channel and on X on this Sunday afternoon baseball as the New York Mets try to avoid another sweep in Milwaukee, Wisconsin against the hot best team in baseball, Milwaukee Brewers, as the Mets cannot get out of their own way, Mets fans. They can't pitch, they can't hit, they can't do anything. And that leads to many losses. That leads to no series wins. It leads to sweeps of the hands of other teams against the Mets. And the Mets are on a spiral. They're spiraling out of control. They're sinking like a ton of bricks. And they continue to not do their job. Yesterday was the epitome of everything going wrong, from pitching to offense, to defense, and it is continuing to be the same issues with this team. From the jump, the Mets got out to a lead. The Mets had 3 leads in this game. No matter if it was the starter or the bullpen, they couldn't hold it. Everybody could say, well, they need to score more than 4 runs. Agree. So we have to score 8 runs now to win ball games? Going back 2 weeks of games, which is probably right around where the Mets just got out of there when they finally snapped their 7-game winning streak. So it's about 2 weeks. 2 weeks of games, the Mets have given up over 5 runs per game. Closer to 6 runs per game. That's their average of what they're giving up. I don't care who's your offense. It's very hard to score 6 and 7 runs per game to at least become even of where your pitchers are pitching. And that is the problem. This is the problem, right? The pitching don't go deep into games. You're overusing your bullpen that you revamped because your pitching sucks. Your starting rotation sucks. So the bullpen continues to be overused. And on top of that, while you use more guys on an everyday basis, it's more likely than not they're going to have a hiccup. And you can't have a hiccup when every day, because it's baseball. These guys are not perfect. As good as this bullpen should be, it's not used properly because Mendoza can't use it properly. That's the problem, right? You don't think he would love to start using his bullpen in the 6th inning on almost a nightly basis? He can't. Why did he have to use an opener yesterday? Because Montas sucks. We used 10 bullpen arms in this series in 2 games. 10. Guys multiple times already. So there's a pretty good chance that guys that have been used in game 1 and 2 of the series are not available for today's game. We're very limited on what we can use in the bullpen today. Maybe Tyler Rogers, who has a rubber arm, might be available for an inning. Maybe even for a 1 big out. Helsley could be available. We know Diaz is available, but Diaz doesn't count until you actually get later into the ball game. And that is not even going to matter. We can't get to Diaz. So we're talking about Reed Garrett possibly being available since he only pitched 1 inning. You use Static twice. You use Rogers twice. You use Soto twice. So it's Helsley, Garrett, and Diaz with your high leverage guys available. And that's only if Sean Manaea can give you at least 5 innings. At least. And oh, by the way, he couldn't even stretch out his arm and pitch, give to 90 pitches or 90 plus pitches because he got shelled for five runs his last time out against the Guardians. Like, this is the trickle-down effect. Your starters suck, can't go deep into games, and we start to blame everybody else, yet the bullpen, who is supposed to be really good, is complete. Like, since the trade deadline, these guys, I don't even think these guys have been used the way the Mets have used them over 2 weeks, over a week and a half of games since the trade deadline. It's a huge problem, guys. It's a huge problem. And we can talk about the offense, and again, these guys got to step up, right? Nimmo, a complete 0. Lindor, not only with the glove, but with the bat, swinging out of his heels for no reason when you need base runners. Juan Soto, same thing in the ninth, swinging for the fences with 1 man on. You're down by 3. Get on base. You're supposed to be the OPS guy. Get on base. Pete Alonso, he had 252. Why are people talking about it like it's the biggest thing in the world? There was somebody on X that says the greatest Met of all time. First off, not even close. Second off, he's probably barely top 10 if he's lucky. Like, stop living and dying off of this stupid home run record. It means absolutely nothing. It really does. It does not mean nothing. People need something to cheer about. People need something to feel happy about a player. Stop it. Worry about the goddamn team. I only cared about the Pete Alonso home run because they gave us a 1-0 lead. That's all I cared about. But when you have 3 leads in the game, while you ended up being tied twice in the game, your pitchers couldn't hold it. Right? At some point, this team, and somebody posted it, and it was on X, and it was awesome. Over the 2 weeks, the Mets have been tied, had 1-run leads, 2-run leads, and 4-run lead in games over the last 2 weeks. They've lost all those games. So save me with the offense, because the offense hasn't been great. But when the offense actually gives you leads, regardless if it's a 1-run lead or a 2-run lead, it's a lead. Why can't our pitchers actually hold it? Why can't they hold it? One, because the starters are a joke. The starters aren't very good. The starters can't go deep into games. And now you got to use 4 to 5 to 6 pitchers every game in your bullpen, and they got to be nearly perfect. It's very hard to win that way. Now, when you got to shorten games in the postseason, yeah, that might work to your favor. But we're 2.5 games ahead in a playoff spot, in a wild card spot right now. We're 4.5 games behind Philly. Now, again, 1 week has changed the Mets' fortune here. 1 week ago, we were tied with the Phillies. We were going back and forth a half a game apiece. So a week can change everything. So I'm not going to go overly crazy. Say, oh, the division is over. The season's over, blah, 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 and all that nonsense. There's nobody very good because the Phillies aren't that good. The Phillies haven't played well either. They just played a tad bit better. I even said it the other day. When the Mets, over the last 10 games, they were 2-8. And the Phillies were 5-5. That's a difference of 3 games. That was when the Mets were only 3.5 games out, or 3 games out. Like, that's the difference. Red Bear, but here's the thing. They're giving their pitching leads. Who cares? See, here's the problem. Nobody gave a shit about the easy runs and the easy 1-run victories and the 2-run victories the pitchers were giving them in April and May, right? Nobody talked about that. Nobody cared about the close games and the 1-run victories we had, the 2-run victories we had, because we had a lot of them in April and May. So it's okay to talk about the pitching then when they're doing well, but when the pitching's not doing well, we can't talk about 1-run, 2-run leads. They consistently give this pitching leads. Who can? What, we have to give them a 5-run lead every game? That's not possible. That is not sustainable. Look at the teams around the league. You know how many? Look at the Phillies. Look how they've been winning 1-run, 2-run games. You think they've been hitting the ball all over the place? They've been winning a lot of low-scoring games or a lot of tight games, 1-run, 2-run victories. Why can't the Mets do that? Because their pitching is garbage. That's why. I am not telling you that the offense deserves any credit. I don't give them any credit. But let's have facts here. Here's the facts. The facts are the Mets got 3 leads yesterday. They lost every one of them from their entire pitching staff yesterday. That's it. And again, somebody posted on X. I forgot who it was. I retweeted it. If you follow me on X, look at my account. You'll see the thing there. Over 2 weeks of games, the Mets had 1-run victory, 1-run leads, 2-run leads, 4-run leads in a 2-week span, and they lost all those games. And some of them were late in games. Some of them were obviously the 3rd or 4th inning, but there was other ones that were in the 6th inning, 7th inning, and 8th inning. That's the problem. Oh, CP, I got your message, so I don't know if you're going to be available for post-game, but if you're here, man, help. Right? Help, man, help. If you're not, that's cool. I know you're still on that vacay mode, and I appreciate that. So, but I know you've been going off the rails just like me, man. I tell you, right? And look, the Mets have put themselves in a spot because of April and May where they can have a major hiccup twice in a season because this is the second biggest hiccup that they had this season, where they have gone on, a 15-game stretch of not playing well, like basically nearly 3 weeks in June or almost the entire month of June, and now in the month of August. So they've set themselves up in April and May to have 2 big hiccups. Now, at some point, they got to turn it around, and we're going to be talking about a big collapse here. And then everybody's going to blame the people that I've been blaming the whole time. And then I'll say, I told you so. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to, because I don't think the Reds are very good. I think they're playing decent right now. But look, the Reds wouldn't even be talked about if the Mets weren't playing so badly, right? If the Mets were playing 500 ball over the last 2 weeks, we'd be firmly in that. Actually, we'd probably be closer to first place. But we would be firmly in a wild card spot instead of worrying about somebody behind us. Because the Reds are the only team we probably have to worry about. I know people are talking about the Marlins. I just don't see it. Even though, by the way, they got better pitching than us, by the way. I don't know if anybody knows that, the guys that we could have got. But, let's not overpay because we got the guys in our rotation and we got 14 third basemen that everybody wants to keep that suck. And giving Mendoza too many choices, so we felt obligated to replace Vientos at third base in the 7th inning. And it ended up costing us. Not saying that Vientos would have made that play, but again, it still is the problem. Yeah, CP, and I love to talk about it at some point when you're able to come back on one of our shows, because I don't know how much that's going to matter, man. I truly believe that. Like, if there's going to be restrictions on these kids, innings restrictions, pitch count restrictions, we're in for, a silly little game here of how many innings can they actually pitch before their pitch count is too high. Like that's the scary thing here. And Juan, what fire sale? Here's your fire sale. We gave a lot of one year deals and a couple of opt-outs. Great. There's your fire sale. There's nobody to fire. There's nobody to sell. Who are we selling? You want to sell Brandon Nimmo? What's his value? The guy who hits well for 2 months and doesn't show up the last 4 months? Nobody wants him. He's getting paid. He's getting highly overpaid for a center fielder who's not a center fielder, who's now a left fielder who isn't playing very well and is a guy that's probably going to be a DH in 2 years, who's got a tremendous amount of years left on his contract. Let's talk about Pete Alonso. I already told you guys this. He's not our first baseman next year. I'm telling you that right now. Ryan Clifford is David Stern's love child. I'm telling you that right now. Right? The saving grace for Mets fans is, and Chris is talking about it, the saving grace is Brandon Sproat, is Noah McLean. Right? And again, we're making these guys out to be saviors, and we're gonna have a rude awakening here because I truly believe that David Stearns, he talks about this, right? He talks about sustained success. You know what sustained success means? Protecting your assets, like Noah McLean and Brandon Sproat, for sustained success, right? You make the playoffs, that's considered a plus. That is considered part of our goal, right? 2 years in a row making the playoffs, that is the third time in history for our franchise. You do it 3 years in a row, it's a franchise record. That's sustained success. And I say this, and I say this again. Met fans are going to go Google Gaga when we make the playoffs, 3-4 years in a row. And then when you constantly lose in the playoffs, that message becomes stale because you didn't win. And that is a problem. David, what consistency do you want in a lineup that doesn't hit? What are you supposed to do? The lineup in the top 4 has been the same for 2 months prior to a week ago when he changed it up. They're not hitting. What consistency do you want? Now, I agree with you saying, you know what? They need to make a decision on who's going to play third base every day. I agree with you. But that's a 6th or 7th hitter in the lineup because they're not hitting. Same players in the bottom. Who is hitting? Nobody. Now, I agree with you, right? Cedric Mullins is going to be your center fielder, right? He's playing almost every day. Luis Torrens has to play. He's got to play once or twice a week. You can't play Alvarez 7 days a week. Doesn't work. They're your catcher. You're going to kill him, right? Third base is, Brett Beatty is not playing third base. He's playing second base. That's a typo. Ronnie Mauricio is playing third base, right? Jeff McNeil is DHing. Marte's not in the lineup. He's your hottest hitter. He's not in the lineup. Why? Because when you have to rely on a guy who is starting the season as your bench player, as one of the bats off the bench, when he's your hottest hitter, you got problems, right? If Winker didn't get hurt, and I don't think Winker is very good. I don't think he was going to overly help this team for the most part offensively, but, Winker, right? If Vientos would be hitting, you would solve a problem at third base because Mauricio would be your third baseman, and I think they would put Vientos at third base. At DH, excuse me. So, again, what consistent lineup? There is no lineup. The lineup sucks. Mendoza's trying to find some type of combination that works. But when they constantly don't hit, I don't know what Mendoza's supposed to do. Like, do you want the same lineup tomorrow if they lose and they only score 1 run? No, people are going to bitch about the lineup. So what is he going to do? Leave out the lineup that didn't score yesterday? Doesn't make sense. And again, Alvarez hasn't done much. Like, Luis Torrens has to play. He's your backup catcher. You can't play Alvarez every single day. You're going to kill him. I don't care if he's 22, 23 years old. It doesn't matter. He gets beat up behind the plate on a daily basis. Backup catchers play twice a week. It's just how it goes. Deal with it. That's baseball. David, you know baseball. I don't want to become the hitting coach, right? I don't want to be blamed for nonsense I can't control. All right? Keep blaming the hitting coaches because you're going to waste your time. All right? You keep on blaming hitting coaches. You want a scapegoat because they'll make you feel better at night so you can go to bed and feel better about yourself. Not happening. All right? I don't care about hitting coaches. I don't think they mean anything. People need a scapegoat. People need somebody to blame. This world needs somebody to blame, right? Every walk of life, somebody needs to be accountable. Somebody needs to be blamed. Everybody needs a scapegoat in their life, right? It's not my fault. It's their fault, right? This is what they're doing. You can't blame the player. You can't fire the players. So you need to find somebody else. And Barnes and Chavez, if you're not going to fire Chavez and Barnes, you're wasting your time. You fire Chavez. What do you think the philosophy is with Barnes? The same goddamn nonsense, which it doesn't matter. All these guys have their own hitting coaches in the offseason. Blame the players. Stop blaming the hitting coach. I'm sorry. I'm not blaming Eric Chavez. I am not. I'm not blaming Barnes either. It's a scapegoat to make you feel better at night. So you say the Mets did something. Like, we got to stop. David, they probably are giving them ice. But do you really think somebody who's making $30 million a year or $25 million or $50 million a year are going to listen to a player that are not better than them? They're not going to give a shit. They might be nice guys and probably listen, but they're not taking that to the bank. And why do we think that Eric Chavez is not saying the right things to them? Hey, stop swinging for the fences. Okay, boss. No problem. Come on. It's on the players, man. Stop blaming the hitting coach. That poor guy's making $100,000 a year, while guys are making $25, $30, $50 million, and we're not blaming the players. The coaches aren't timid. I think Eric Chavez does what he needs to do. But again, he can't put the bat in his hands and hit the ball. When the player gets to the plate, come on, guys, you guys play baseball. When you play baseball, nobody controls what you do except your mind and your hands and what you're doing at the plate. Nobody's swinging the bat for you. Nobody's seeing the pitches you're seeing. These guys are terrible in adjusting in game. Mendoza talked about it yesterday prior to the game. He says that his players are not adjusting fast enough to what the pitchers are planning to throw them. What does that tell you? That tells you either the players don't care or they're not good enough to prepare and be ready for what's coming. So I don't understand. Like, what are we supposed to do here? David, I'm glad you had a hitting coach. I had a hitting coach too. And I assure you, if you cared about your hitting coach, then I don't know what here's the problem. When you had success, you gave yourself all the credit. When you had problems at the plate, you're going to blame the hitting coach, right? You're going to go to the hitting coach thinking that it's going to be, the end all be all. But ultimately, it was your fault for hitting badly, right? When you went into that slump, you were ready to blame the hitting coach? No. Well, maybe you were. But when you didn't give, I don't think you're gonna give credit to your, you're gonna buy him a nice T-shirt saying thanks for being a great hitting coach. No, you're gonna give yourself credit. You're gonna pat yourself on the back. The problem is there's not enough accountability with these players, and I think there's accountability. Mendoza blew up the offense yesterday. He even said it. He goes, these guys are not adjusting on the fly in game. That's a problem. Now, can you say how do we don't know if Eric Chavez is going up to them and say, hey guys, listen, look what these guys are throwing you, right? They talked about it on the broadcast. Woodruff was just pounding fastballs the whole game. And they couldn't hit him. They were late on everything. They were expecting breaking balls. So is it the players not listening to the coaches? I think that's more likely than the coach not telling them something, right? Eric Chavez isn't a slob. This guy was a professional good hitter. He was a really good player. A really good hitter. You don't think he understands that and he's not telling these guys that? I find that very hard to believe. And if he didn't say that stuff, you don't think the Mets would have got rid of him thinking that he's not doing his job? Come on, guys. That is the issue. That's the problem. They got to adjust on the fly. You got to know going in the game what this guy is more likely going to throw. Obviously, if you think he's going to throw a ton of fastballs and he's throwing a ton of breaking balls, you got to adjust, right? This team loves to look breaking ball and adjust the fastball. Do you know how stupid of a mindset that is in baseball? You look fastball and you adjust the breaking ball. That is baseball 101. They constantly are late on fastballs, expecting too much breaking ball and off-speed pitches. It is idiotic. It just doesn't make sense. So they got to figure it out. I'm sorry. We got Sean Manaea today. I hope and pray this guy doesn't blow up on us again, right? This guy was his last start was supposed to be his big, here I am back in the majors with the Mets, where he was supposed to get his pitch count up to 90 plus pitches and was supposed to go a little deeper into the game. Well, he couldn't do that because he gave up a 5 spot. So that went out the window. So what are we expecting from Manaea today? We're going to need him to give us length, right? And we need him to give us 90 plus pitches. So this guy needs to get into the 6th inning, at least get into the 6th inning, complete 5 innings. I want him on the mound in the 6th inning because that tells me that he's not pitching so bad, because we are very limited in the bullpen today, guys. Just so everybody's aware, before everybody goes buck shit crazy on X and say, why isn't he using this guy? Why? Because you're going to blow their arms. Tyler Rogers, Ryan Stanek, Soto, all pitched back-to-back days and over 20 pitches in each of those games. So these guys are most likely not available. Maybe Tyler Rogers, because he's a workhorse and he has a rubber arm, maybe he might be available for an inning. Maybe. With the off day tomorrow, maybe. But you got Reed Garrett, you got Helsley, and you got Diaz. That is probably all you got. Maybe you have Hegeman. But Hegeman can't be used because you got to save him just in case Mania doesn't have it. And you got to take him out. This is a situation where when there's a problem with Mania, if he's, ready to blow up, you got to take him out of the game. I don't care what inning it is. You got to deal with it. You got to throw in Hegeman. You got to let him go in there and throw innings. You can't have Mania blow up and you have a 4 or 5 run deficit in the third inning. Because this pitching staff has been problems, as most people understand that. So, yeah, but Redman, I don't think it's all Chavez, though. I think this is an organizational philosophy where they care about home runs. They care about home runs. They care about OPS. They don't care about strikeouts. They don't care about average. Welcome to baseball in 2025, guys. Like, teams like the Brewers, nobody likes that philosophy. They don't believe that wins. Now, again, they're the best record in baseball. They're the best team in baseball right now. But let's see if it works in the playoffs. Because it usually doesn't. It usually fails. Now, again, can they do it? Sure they can. Right? I think it's a crapshoot when you get into the playoffs. So I truly think that, like, again, the philosophy of baseball nowadays is all about home runs, OPS, and that's the big thing. Nobody cares about averages. Nobody cares about strikeouts. And, I think it was John Heyman who put up that the top 5 teams in the leagues in baseball have the best averages in baseball overall and have the players with the best averages on an overall basis, on an overall team. So that's understandable. But again, the philosophy has changed completely. The same way philosophy has changed with pitching. Like, starting pitching doesn't matter, but bullpen matters. Yet, I've said this for a long time. This is a con job by the Major League Baseball owners who don't want to give long-term deals to starting pitching anymore and tell you and brainwash you into believing that it's all about the bullpen, because bullpens are cheaper other than the closer. You can get a lot of one-year deals. You can get a lot of short-term deals, and you don't have to pay these guys $20, $30 million. Shit, even $15 million. That's what they tell you. So they brainwash you into believing that, and now too many people believe that. Yet ultimately, what John Heyman should have reported, instead of worrying about average for batters, which I agree with, by the way, but what he should do is say, what teams that are contenders that actually have top starting pitching? And it's everybody but the Mets, right? Did you see the Milwaukee Brewers? Right? They threw Woodrow, who just came back from shoulder surgery, who pitching a ton of, he's actually throwing deeper into games than Mets pitching already. He throws 85 to 90 pitches already. Like, I just don't understand it. So, they're not afraid to throw guys 2-3 days in a row. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane to me, guys. It is pissing me off what is going on. I mean, Dave, I don't think they want to be a third wild card. Why do you want to be a third wild card? You're going to play 3 games, and as of right now, I think it's the Phillies that would be our opponent in the wild card series. So we'd be going to Philly for 3. So, and I think it would be the Cubs and the Brewers that would have the bye, and it would be the Padres and the Cubs playing each other, and we'd be facing the Phillies. So it would be crazy. One, I think they care. I mean, did you see Lindor yesterday slamming his glove? They care. They care. Like I'm not saying they don't care. Like that's not fair to them because we don't know that, and I truly believe they do. Yeah, committee. I think we match up well against anybody except for the Padres. To be honest with you, but at the end of the day, when you make the playoffs, it really does throw all the stats out the window. It's just a matter of who's getting hot at the right time. Don't we understand this by now? The Mets weren't even close to being the best team in the National League in the playoffs last year. They were not favorites against the Brewers. They weren't favorites against the Phillies, and they weren't favorites against the Dodgers. Yet they got the Game 6 of the NLCS. So does it matter if you're going in as the best team in baseball or one of the better teams in the National League? No, it doesn't. So can the Mets make the World Series being a third wildcard team? Sure they can. Absolutely. They almost did last year. But, we have this mindset thinking that if they win the division, that, we're just put us on a silver platter and just throw us to the World Series. It doesn't work like that. The two best teams in baseball in the American League and National League were in the World Series last year. That hasn't happened. That is rare. And we all know why the Yankees made it. They played nobody in the American League. So it was kind of easy pickings. And the Dodgers struggled. For the most part, I mean, they took the Mets that were basically a depleted pitching staff to 6 games. Like, I truly believe that if we had a top starter and a fresher arm, we might have been going to a Game 7. I don't think ultimately we might have won, but I think we would have took them to the brink. I'm not going to say Acuna is great defensively. He's had some lazy mishaps as well. And again, Acuna's not here. Again, roster construction. You want to talk about roster construction again? Like, Acuna can't hit. That's why he's in the minors. So his speed, he's going to come up here probably in September, and be a guy that's going to be a pinch runner possibility, and probably coming for defensive purposes. Even though I'd rather have McNeil out there at second base. I'd rather have Mullins or Tyron Taylor in center field for defensive purposes. And at third base, Acuna is not going to be playing third base over Vientos, over Beatty, over Mauricio. So once again, Acuna is going to be a glorified pinch runner again. He's not great defensively. He's not. I'm sorry. He's not. Right? Is he solid? Sure. Look, if he's great defensively, he'd be up here right now. Why isn't he up here now? Right? Is he better than Beatty? No, he's not. Sorry. Beatty has the potential of hitting home runs. Beatty has been solid defensively. I know he made that one error, but, they bury Beatty on the bench just for one bad error. Yet they continue to play Vientos. They continue to play Mauricio. So, the Mets gave him a chance. He won the start and second base job. He lost it. Do we all forget that? I know we do. We have to forget that because it doesn't fit the narrative. Remember, Beatty got sent down and Acuna got the second base job, even with McNeil being back. McNeil was playing center. He was playing third. He was playing left. He was playing DH and all that stuff. Beatty's not an outfielder. Beatty is a third baseman. Beatty has been a better second baseman than Acuna. And Acuna's not really a third baseman. I'm not even saying Acuna sucks. I don't think he's the player that everybody puts him out to be. I think he's not going to be a power guy. He might be at this moment, he's not an average guy either. So again, his speed is pointless to be a starter every day because he doesn't hit for average. He doesn't hit for power. So if he doesn't get on base enough as a starter, then how is his speed going to help this team? And again, the goddamn White Sox wanted Vientos and Acuna and another minor league pitcher that wasn't our top 3 starting pitchers or pitching prospects for Luis Robert. Again, expendable players, right? You could have had Mauricio at third base full time. You didn't have to worry about this nonsense playing guys on an everyday basis. Beatty could have been your utility guy off the bench. He could have played second. He can play third at times and blah, 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 and all that fun stuff. Yet, we got this mash of very underperforming players. And again, where are all the people that were talking about we don't want to trade these guys? You should be you should be having a party right now, right? Because you clearly don't want to win. You want to live and die with guys that have done basically nothing. And again, hold the nonsense about last year, because last year doesn't matter anymore. I think we understand that, right? You can't live in your laurels forever. And Vientos has had a really good season last year. He was outstanding in the playoffs, but he's a shell of himself. He has not adjusted, and it's game 118 of the season. What are we doing here? Danny, maybe he would be good at shortstop. Maybe. See, Acuna would be good on a team. He would be good on many teams. He would even be good on the Mets. But again, you can't have him on a roster where you have most of you guys not hitting and have another guy on the bench that can't hit. Because you got to play these guys to develop these guys. I think it's the most stupidest thing in the world to think you can develop a guy and try to win at the same time. It doesn't work. The Mets have tried to develop Beatty. They tried to develop Acuna and Mauricio while trying to be a top contender in baseball. You know how stupid that it sounds? That is the dumbest thing I've heard. Like, why have 3 levels of the minor leagues if the guys aren't ready? Don't bring them up. If they're not ready, don't bring them up. You're wasting your time. You're wasting a roster spot because you can't play these guys every day. There's not enough spots on the team in the lineup to do so. You know, by the way, they're not hitting well enough to warrant them playing every day. So again, who do you want playing every day? Everybody's going to say Mauricio. Good. Well, thanks Stearns for allowing all these idiot players to continue to be on this roster because he was too afraid of trading these guys. Because who gives a shit what Acuna does for the Chicago White Sox, who are not going to be good probably for the next 3 to 4 years. So the guy is going to waste years of his young career possibly playing well, maybe not, and Vientos, by the way, and allow them to be good. Great. Who cares? What are they going to win? 55 games? Great. I'm so excited. Who cares? Stanley, when will Sproat and McLean get a chance? August 15th or 16th. McLean's pitching today, by the way. He's pitching right now for the Syracuse Mets. It's on SNY. Check it out. He's pitching. So that means give him 5 days. So he's going to be here on the 15th. Well, the Mets are off tomorrow. So we'll be here on the 15th or the 16th if they bring him up. Because I don't think they're bringing both of them up. I think they're bringing one of them up. If one doesn't perform well, they'll bring the other one up. You know, to appease the prospect huggers. So, Danny, but here's the problem. He's not a great defender, so you don't want to play him at third with the possibility of him not playing well at third base. Again, I'm agreeing with you. Why DH him? Marte's been hitting better than him. He's our best right-handed hitter right now. So this is the other problem. Do you want to play Beatty Vientos at third base every day? Do you want to do that? Okay, if you want to do that, I'm fine with that. But he's not hitting. So he's not great defensively. You have better options at third base defensively, either Beatty or Mauricio, at least defensively. And okay, Danny, okay, I'm fine with that. Like I said, I think there's too much indecision. And I think Mendoza has too many options, which is why I keep on talking about the roster construction with David Stern. Stop giving Mendoza so many options that he doesn't need. There's no need for all these options. It doesn't work. Play one of these guys at a position. Let them play. Now, are they going to perform? I don't know. But you got to give somebody a week to play every day. It's stupid. Well, David, why in the hell is McNeil at DH? Because here's the problem. Once again, because Marte is your hottest hitter and has been a lightning rod and has been the only one actually given productive at bats. The guy is in his mid-30s. He's got bad knees. Like, you can't play him every day. As much as we want to, it's hard to do that. Why? Because Marte shouldn't be playing every day. Because he's playing more because everybody else sucks. Unfortunately. No, Jared, what depth? How much depth do we need? We have 4 third basemen on the roster. You know how stupid that sounds? Jeff McNeil can be an everyday second baseman. He's hit well enough against lefties and righties, and he's been good defensively. You can play him at second base every day. Nobody would be complaining about that. So, okay, now you take second base out of the mix. So you got Mauricio, Vientos, Acuna, Beatty for third base. Okay, one's got to play. Put one of them there. Now you got 3 guys on the bench who play all the same positions. Now you got a DH spot, but hey, Marte's hitting better than all these guys. So you're going to play Marte more often than not. So these 3 guys are sitting on the bench. So the depth doesn't make sense. You don't need 3 infielders playing the same position. That's not depth. That's roster construction idiocy. That's what it is. It's stupid. The roster construction sucks. It is absolutely dumb how the roster is constructed. This is not about depth. Depth, you'll need maybe 2 infield utility guys. Most likely 1. You don't need 2. For what? Lindor plays every day. Pete Alonso plays every day. You should have McNeil playing every day. So third base is the only option. So you got all these guys for one position. And what does that do? That lets Mendoza have too much inconsistency on who to play every day. Because even when the guys were hitting, he was still afraid sitting Acuna 4 days in a row, or sitting Beatty 3 days in a row, or sitting Vientos 3 days in a row, or Mauricio. That's the problem. You're giving him too many options, which is giving him too much inconsistency on what to do. Stop giving him so many options. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Like, we forget last year, McNeil wasn't hitting, so Iglesias was playing every day, right? Vientos was hitting, so nobody cared about Beatty. Nobody cared about Acuna except for a pinch run situation and playing shortstop in September when Lindor was hurt. Like, that's the thing. Like, there wasn't that many options for Mendoza to make decisions that he does not have to make. Stop trying to give him too many options. It doesn't work. That's why I said Stearns needed to make a decision here. You have 4 guys playing similar positions. You could have got better in whatever aspect other than bullpen to use those guys. You could have got a hitter in here that is better than Cedric Mullins. Luis Robert has the potential of hitting for more power. He's just as good, if not better, defensively in center field. He gives you stolen bases. And he's a guy, since the All-Star break, we're talking about a month now, who has played extremely well. Very well. So, there you go. Well, though, here's the other thing about Stearns, though, with Milwaukee, right? He had sustained success in Milwaukee. They haven't won a playoff series since 2018. He was a part of the Brewers during that time. They constantly make the playoffs, and this is why I talk about the stale message, right? He's using the sustained success to get the Mets fans feeling all good inside. But again, you constantly make the playoffs and you constantly lose in the playoffs. That message becomes stale. Nobody cares that you make the playoffs anymore. Have you watched the Yankees? Have we been in New York listening to what Yankee fans have been saying? They don't care about making the playoffs every year, right? That should be a given. And in the Mets case, it should be a given. The way they spent the money, the way they should be contenders, they should make the playoffs every year. This shouldn't be hard to make the playoffs every year. If you have a payroll over $300 million, you should be making the playoffs every year. There should be no excuse for that. So that should be a given. I don't want to hear Stearns saying it's sustained success. You're paying $300 million a year on a payroll. You should be making the playoffs with ease. And even in a down season, you should make the playoffs, right? But you think Yankee fans care about the playoffs? Making it every year? No. All they complain about is, well, we haven't won a championship. That's going to be the message from Met fans very soon. I'm telling you this right now. You're going to constantly make the playoffs. You're going to constantly fail in the playoffs. And then we're going to be complaining about not winning the World Series because that message of sustained success is going to run stale rather quickly. And then what we're going to say? Who are we going to blame then? Oh, right. Let's find another scapegoat. Let's fire Eric Chavez. You know what? Let's fire David Stearns. You see the problem with that? So unfortunately, we're in a situation that David Stearns put us in. Right? Again, I'm not putting 100% of the blame on him, right? It's a lot of Vientos fault. It's a lot of Nimmo, Soto, Alonso, Lindor. All those guys' fault. But Stearns started the season with a subpar rotation that could survive through a season to get you into the playoffs. Could. Now, it's clearly failing enough where we're on the verge of not making the playoffs. And yeah, the offense has something to do with that. But let's be honest, the pitching does too. So Stearns went the cheap route with the rotation, wanted to give so many guys these reclamation projects and hope for the best. And if it doesn't, well, we'll figure it out. He lives and dies on the bullpen that hasn't won him a championship, has ultimately failed in the playoffs year after year after year with the Brewers, even though, by the way, for all you fans that love this, had top 5 pitching staffs in rotation and bullpen each of the years he was in Milwaukee. And oh, by the way, he had Woodruff. He had Burns. Oh, I wish the Mets had that. So there you go. So he continued to fail in the playoffs year after year after year in Milwaukee, even though he had top 5 pitching staffs in baseball almost every single year that he was the Brewers GM. Yet they didn't win. So no, pitching doesn't win championships. Now, I think there's certain ways to win, and you can hit by bludgeoning teams offensively, like the Dodgers did last year. But they also had Yamamoto, Flaherty, Buehler, who pitched extremely well in the playoffs. The Mets don't even have anybody close to that. Sorry to burst everybody's bubble. So again, for the prospect huggers, for the guys that didn't want to trade certain prospects because whatever you're afraid of, we're heading to the 40th anniversary of 1986, guys. I wasn't born yet. There were a lot of people in the chat that might have not been born. Willie just said it. Fans since 80. There's a lot of people that were young whippersnappers. My dad was 20 years old when the Mets won the World Series. Like, he was 20 when the Mets won the World Series, guys. My dad's 60, going to be 63. 22 years old he was. So he was 60, he's 63 years old, right? I'm going to be 63 in a few months. Like, that's a long time. Like, I wasn't even born yet. I've seen 2 World Series appearances in 2000 and 2015. I seen them make the playoffs when I was actually, realizing what's going on with the baseball game. I'm not going to tell myself, when I was 2 years old, even though the 90s were terrible for the Mets until the late 90s. But I seen playoffs very rarely in my lifetime. I seen a lot of bad seasons. I'm sick and tired of people telling me worry about the prospects and not doing everything you can to win. I'm sick and tired of my GM not doing everything they needed to do to win. My GM is worrying about years of control of prospect pitchers that he tells me are so good. So if they're so good, I'm not worrying about 2029 and 2030. Let's worry about that when we get there. I'm not saying these guys are going to be the savior, but they could be a difference. But how do we know that? If you're going to wait until August 16th, we might be 10 games out of a freaking division by then, the way we're playing it. We might be out of a wild card spot. What are they going to do for us then? What are you going to say then? Oh, well, let's see how they do. Let's give them some experience. Like, that's what we're going to do? Stop it. The New York Mets got to get out of their own way. And that starts with David Stearns. He's got to pivot from his philosophy a little bit. I said it before and I'll say it again. You got to get uncomfortable at the trade deadline. Yeah. Does everybody want to trade Vientos, Acuna, and possibly another pitching prospect like a Ewan or Santucci or, somebody like that was added to the package? Yeah, it might have sucked, right? It might have given you a little bit of, in the back of your mind, I don't really want to do that. But what do I need now? I need a fucking bat in this lineup that can help me in center field as well. Luis Robert has been playing better since the All-Star break. We said this. We knew this. Cedric Mullins wasn't going to be a difference. Luis Robert at least possibly could have been a difference. Now, I think Mullins will be okay. He'll be better than Taylor, but I don't think there's a major upgrade offensively to help this lineup. I think Robert could have been that. And he's been very good since the All-Star break. Not saying that he would have done it if he came here and continued what he's been doing with the White Sox over the last month. But give that opportunity to them. Like, that's what I don't understand. The rotation has been spiraling ever since the end of May. And Stearns act like, he brought up Blackburn a half hour after the deadline, talked about Tyler McGill, and he couldn't wait to bring up the prospect pitchers because he knew it would get Met fans excited because he failed at the deadline. There was guys available. You see Alcantara, how they're pitching? You see Edward Cabrera, how they're pitching for the Marlins? You see how good they've been pitching over the last 7-8 starts? Guys that nobody didn't want because he had a 6 ERA. He's been pretty damn good. The Marlins have been really good. Right? You didn't want to trade for Mitch Keller. He's been pretty good. Merrill Kelly is now on another team. So, unfortunately, when you fail at the deadline, and I talked about when you half-ass the deadline, you're going to get half-ass results. And again, we're living in it right now. So again, the prospect huggers who won't show up anymore, right? They can't show up anymore because they know they're wrong in this situation. Your prospect huggers, right? You should be sitting back with your pina colada, legs up, with your beach hat on, and enjoying this. Because ultimately you don't want to win. You want 15 out of your 26 roster being all homegrown talent because it makes you feel good inside. And it makes you say, hey, look at our roster. We got homegrown talent. Ultimately, your homegrown talent usually doesn't do well. Like, let's be honest. Right? And your homegrown talent has been failing for a while. In Alonso, in Nimmo, in McNeil. They've choked in 2022. How you feel about those homegrown talent? All right? They put up numbers where they pad their stats for 2 months. And you say they're good. They continue to fail. Alonso hasn't been good since May. Nimmo, same thing. Lindor, same thing. Juan Soto had 1 good month out of the season. Like, where are we going here? Juan probably, because maybe they have some cojones. That's right. The white boy used Spanish a little bit. But look, yeah, well, Johnny, he had a 6 ERA. Why would you even bother? You seen his numbers? None of the Mets rotation guys could even look at those numbers and say, "Oh man, I could do that," because they can't. Well, they won't. Edward Cabrera, another guy, but he didn't want to trade top 7 prospects. He didn't want to do that. So okay, good. Live it. Sleep in that bed, right? Stearns is sleeping cozy at night, right? Nice, comfortable pillow, nice and fluffy. He's sleeping at night because you know why? He gets to still use and brainwash you Met fans and talk about the prospect pitchers because that's his only saving grace. And they better pitch well. I tell you that right now. And I don't think they're going to go deep into games. They're going to be on a innings restrictions limit and a pitch count limit. So you can live off of that too. But they have, too many Met fans think these guys are going to be the saviors. And it's going to be very hard for them to do so. Because you don't think there's going to be an adjustment period? Do we have time for an adjustment period from these pitchers? When they're striking out deadbeats in AAA? I think I like what I'm seeing. But don't make these guys to be the saviors. Because if they were that good, they would have been starting on opening day for us. They would have been starting in this rotation when we started the season. All right? They don't need to go through 3 levels of the minor leagues. Why is it okay for other teams to do it? And these guys are coming up from AA. Might get a start in AAA. The Mets are afraid to do that. They don't need 100 innings in AAA. What is that proving? So they can strike out a bunch of deadbeats, a bunch of guys that are trying to hold on for dear life as a baseball career? Come on. So unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be the saviors. Now, could they help the rotation? Well, how much worse can a rotation get? It's already terrible. So, yeah, could it be an upgrade? I don't think it's going to be the upgrade people are thinking. It's not going to put us to the moon. I mean, it might get us in the atmosphere a little bit, but it ain't going to get us to the moon. And ultimately, no, I don't want instant gratification. I want proven talent that you could have got that Stearns did not. That's my problem. Because if you're gonna waste guys innings in the minors like McLean and Sproat, then don't bother with them this year. Go get Alcantara. Go get Eric Cabrera. Go get Merrill Kelly. Go get Mitch Keller. There was nothing stopping him to do so, except he didn't want to give up people. He's still living and dying on these prospects, on the guys that are currently on the roster that were considered top prospects, and he's living and dying with them. And it's a problem. And David, you can wish all you want. Tong is not coming up here before McLean or Sproat. And I don't think the both of them are coming up at the same time, guys. I think it's going to be one of them. And if you really look at it, McLean's pitching today. He's pitching right now on SNY for Syracuse. Again, if he's pitching every fifth day, I'm not sure what they're doing down there. I'm assuming they're pitching every fifth day. If he pitches on 5 days, if he's going to pitch on the fifth day, he'll be here on the 16th. So he's probably going to get the call first. And if he fails, then David Stearns is going to brainwash my fans again, saying, don't worry, we got Sproat. Don't worry, guys, we got Sproat. If McLean doesn't do well, it's okay. Because he's gonna feed you. He's gonna give you just enough food to keep you fed, but not enough to make you ultimately full. So you're gonna need a little bit more, and that's what he's gonna do to you. I don't want to be patient for what? We're 118. We're playing game 118 today. What are we patient about? There's no urgency, David. That's your problem. This team, this organization has no urgency. And you're going to talk about be patient? It's going on year 40 of winning the World Series. What patience do you want? I'm sick and tired of patience. That's the problem with this fan base. There's too many people don't have no fucking urgency. You guys are so god awful with that stuff. Nobody gives a shit about your patience. Do you think Francisco Lindor cares about patience? You know what? Let's wait until they're all 34, 35 years old to worry about the patience when these guys are out of their prime. Let's waste years of the best years of these guys because patience. I'm sick and tired of patience. Your patience might not have Alonso on the team next year. Brandon Nimmo is another year older. You think he's going to remain healthy for another year? Oh, good luck with that. You got Lindor, who is clearly struggling defensively. Is he coming out of his prime more quickly than we think? He's played a lot of games over his career. Maybe he has two years left of really good seasons. That's the patience you want to wait for? But that's okay. The guy like Jet Williams might come up and might be a good player. Ryan Clifford can take over first base next year. Let's hope he's good. It doesn't work like that. Like, you can't be overly patient. I'm okay with being somewhat patient, but there's urgency here. Your rotation sucks. If you care more about the 1 year extra of control over a prospect, then you ultimately don't have your number one goal being winning. It is secondary to your overall stupid philosophy that has won you nothing in your career. The urgency. No, David, I'm not saying give up all the prospects. I'm telling you to bring these guys up. But he's not doing that. That's my problem. You guys are fixated on thinking that I don't want the prospects to come up. I said it. Use them or trade them. Don't leave them in no man's land. That's what he's doing. That's my problem. I said this from the jump. Why weren't one of these pitchers or both of these guys here in June when the team desperately needed starting pitching with all the injuries? We had Hageman, Waddell. We had, oh my God, we had all these idiot pitchers that are not worth our time. That was when we should have brought them up. We didn't. Why? Because he didn't want to bring him up because of years of control. Ultimately, their number one goal isn't to win. He tells you that publicly, but deep down, and his evidence and his actions tell you otherwise. Get it before you keep on saying nonsense. The dude is a clown. Thank you, Juan. You read my mind. The dude is a clown. He says one thing and his actions do another. Stop it. We got to stop with this patience nonsense and acting like I don't want to bring up prospects. I do. But he's doing none of it. He's not trading them for proven players. He's not bringing them up to help this team. Do you realize we still got 5 to 6 days? That's another 3 to 4 games, possibly 5 games before one of these guys come up. And if you think one of them are going to be the savior, I need to slap you in the mouth because you're just the biggest dummy. And I apologize for being a little bit disrespectful, but it sometimes you got to get a little slap in the face. Got to get a little beaten, right? Everybody's too soft nowadays. Wake up, guys. He's keeping to his philosophy that did not win him anything in Milwaukee, and he's bringing it to the New York Mets, right? It looks good on paper, but the rotation has sucked since June. And yes, injuries had a part of that. But you have pitching. Like, why do we act like we didn't have pitching this whole time in our farm system? When you need them, use them. What a philosophy. And even with those 3 top pitching prospects, even if you had to trade one of them to get a guy like Sandy Alcantara, Edward Cabrera, let's say those specifically, you hope one of those guys can be at least close to good as one of those 2 guys. That's what we're hoping for. A lot of hope in this fan base. You want to live off of hope? You're not going to get very far in life. I want results. I want proven talent. Because there is no guarantee that Brandon Sproat, Noah McLean, or even Jonah Tong is going to be where Alcantara was or Edward Cabrera in their careers. We would be very lucky if that's the case. And more likely than not, they're going to be lesser of those 2 guys. Because that's what happens. Like, ask yourself, if they're so good, why haven't they been called up? If it's only about years of control, then David Stearns needs to go. I'm sorry. But sustained success is making people go crazy here. Because you're already worrying about next year when this year is still happening. So, guess what? Yeah, Kobo, I agree with you. They might be good. But how do we know that? These guys are still wasting innings away in the minors. We needed them desperately in June. Oh, no, it's okay. We got Hageman. We got Waddell. How'd that work for us? Maybe if we had a 500 June instead of, a terrible June, we might have not been in this pickle. Oh, Patrick, I love that Syracuse is winning. I mean, I love that he's pitching well for Syracuse. I mean, let's raise that Syracuse banner, everybody. Let's go. Where's my Syracuse hat? Oh, yeah, I don't have one because I don't give a shit. All right? So, when your GM doesn't do everything possible externally or internally, by the way, because let's be honest, he has internal options he's not using. So, unfortunately, we are in this situation because David Stearns went cheap in the rotation, living and dying off of all 4 of these guys at Acuna, Vientos, Beatty, and Mauricio. And we're afraid to trade him for whatever reason. And now we're stuck with the same hole at third base that we had all season. The rotation spiraling out of control. I mean, God forbid somebody throws 5 innings. A bullpen that is already overused in a week and a half of games that we had since the trade deadline. And we're going into today's game on the verge of getting swept by the Milwaukee Brewers with maybe 3 available arms in a bullpen today. With Sean Manaea, who gave up a 5 spot last time and couldn't even throw the innings that the Mets were hoping he threw to build them up. So we have no idea what we're getting for Shomania today. We need length, but I mean, come on. And we have most likely 3 available pitches in Reed, Garrett, Helsley, and Diaz. And we all know Diaz, you can't use him that early. I mean, maybe you can use him for 2 innings, 8th and 9th, but you got to get there. And there's no guarantee we're going to have a lead by that moment. We might be tied if we're very lucky. So with that said, guys, there will be a post-game show. There will be a post-game show after the game. This was a very educational pregame. The lineup today has no Marte because we have to rely on a Marte who is a utility guy for this team because he's our best hitter right now. Not in the lineup. But hey, we got Beatty, we got Mauricio, we got Vientos. I mean, sorry, not Vientos. We got Beatty, we got Mauricio. Prospect huggers, I know you're loving it. Like, sit back, relax, get that beach chair ready. Get that pina colada ready. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Win this goddamn game by any means necessary. Win it by any means necessary. I don't care who wins it. I don't care if the pitching's got to be great. I don't care if the hitting's got to be great. Something's got to wake up. Somebody's got to wake up. Step the fuck up. Please. With that said, guys, enjoy the game in the next 15 minutes or so. Let's go Mets, and I'll see you on the post-game show. And hopefully talking about a Mets win. I know that's a crazy concept, but it would be nice. I like to be a little bit happy on a show for once. I was positive on the Mets Talk Live on our off day on Thursday, and that shit changed in a matter of days. Enjoy the game, guys. Let's go Mets, and I'll see you on the post-game show. Enjoy, guys.
Seven train rumble, headed to the field. Orange and blue vibes, the energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, repping both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire misunderstood. Hear 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dream.